But wait a minute, time out. Before I get started here, can I put a shout out right now for www.mypillow.com? What? Yes. Mypillow.com. That's www.mypillow.com/Paul. Use the promo code Paul. That's www.mypillow.com/Paul. Use the promo code Paul. You see what Mike Landau has now? He has the sheets. Unbelievable pricing reduced on the sheets and on the towels and the blankets and the slippers, but and the incredibly low prices on the best pillow there is. Are you serious? Are you serious? mypillow.com/Paul. Use the promo code Paul. Every bed in your house ought to have 3, if not 4, My Pillows on it. And go, and here's the best way to order it, okay? Go to www.mypillow.com/Paul. Use the promo code Paul. You'll be glad you did. And they ship really fast too. So you'll get it within 2-3 days. Okay.
At least 9 confirmed dead as scope of Hurricane Ian's devastation comes into focus. At least 9 people have died after Hurricane Ian tore across Florida with such ferocity that President Joe Biden said it could be the deadliest in the state's history. Speaking after a briefing with Federal Emergency Management Agency officials on Thursday morning, Biden said that while the death toll remained unclear, early reports suggest the loss of life could be substantial. Quote, "I spoke with the commissioners, and they are worried," he said. As of Thursday evening, 9 people had been confirmed dead in the storm, with most of them in Charlotte County, an area near the stretch of southwest coast where Ian made landfall on Wednesday afternoon. One of the most powerful storms to ever hit the United States, Ian left roughly 2.5 million customers without power as of Thursday afternoon. Several hospitals had no water, and thousands of residents were trapped in their homes. Ian had maximum sustained winds of near 75 miles per hour on Thursday as it headed for South Carolina, where it was forecast to hit on Friday. This is according to the National Hurricane Center. Vladimir Putin to host ceremony annexing occupied Ukrainian territories on Friday, the Kremlin says. Russia planned to annex more of Ukraine on Friday in an escalation of the 7-month war that was expected to isolate the Kremlin even further, draw even more international punishment, and bring Ukraine extra military, political, and economic support. The annexation and planned celebratory concerts and rallies in Moscow and the occupied territories would come just days after voters approved Moscow-managed referendums that Ukrainian and Western officials have denounced as illegal, forced, and rigged. Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov told reporters on Thursday that 4 regions of Ukraine, Luhansk, Donetsk, Kherson, and Zaporizhia, would be folded into Russia during a Kremlin ceremony attended by President Vladimir Putin, who is expected to give a major speech. Peskov said the region's pro-Moscow administrators would sign treaties to join Russia in the Kremlin's ornate St. George's Hall. In an apparent response, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky called an emergency meeting on Friday of his National Security and Defense Council. Putin early Friday issued decrees recognizing the independence of the Kherson and Zaporizhia regions, steps he had taken in February regarding Luhansk and Donetsk, and earlier for Crimea. Macron faces first major strike since re-election as unions oppose pension reform. The French government vowed on Thursday to push through pension reform by the end of winter, despite opposition from unions, which launched a first major day of strikes. A call for nationwide stoppages by the CGT union on Thursday, the first since President Emmanuel Macron was re-elected back in April, caused some disruption but was not widely followed. Several unions, including the country's biggest, did not take part, although all of them and left-wing political parties are gearing up for months-long fight over efforts to raise the pension age. Macron made raising the retirement age from its current level of 62 one of the key planks of his re-election campaign, arguing that the current system was unsustainable and too expensive. The government argues that Macron has approved wage increases for civil servants and teachers and put in place one of Europe's most generous anti-inflation safety nets that has capped energy prices for households and held down inflation. But unions said wages were still being eroded by inflation and more needed to be done. Texas shooting leaves 5 dead, suspect in custody, authorities say. 5 people were confirmed dead Thursday, and a suspect was in custody following a shooting in Texas, authorities said. Several law enforcement agencies responded to the 800 block of South Monroe Street in McGregor near Waco. Authorities say an officer-involved shooting also occurred. The identities of the victims and details about either shooting were not discussed during a news briefing. Quote, the main thing was an officer-involved shooting as well as another incident that took place, a DPS spokesperson told reporters. An unidentified suspect was in police custody, he said. No motives, relationships, and other details were immediately determined, and authorities were withholding identities until relatives could be notified, Sergeant Ryan Howard said. The Texas Department of Public Safety declined to identify the victims during an afternoon press conference as their families had not yet been told. The shooter was reportedly shot by a McGregor police officer and taken to the hospital, according to the Waco TV station. Police later confirmed the suspect was in custody. Kamala Harris visits DMZ amid tension over North Korean missile launch. U.S. Vice President Kamala Harris visited the demilitarized zone that divides North and South Korea on Thursday, the last stop on her 4-day trip through Asia. Harris condemned North Korea's Kim Jong-un while standing on the heavily reinforced region 1 day after Pyongyang fired 2 ballistic missiles into the waters off of its eastern coast. Quote, it's clearly a provocation, and it's meant, we believe, to destabilize the region, and we're taking it seriously as everyone should, she said to reporters traveling with her. Though Harris arrived in Asia this week on a trip crafted to attend the state funeral of former Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe in Tokyo, she also met with Japanese, South Korean, and Australian government leaders amid rising tension from China's aggression in the South China Sea and North Korea's ballistic missile program. Harris's trip was meant in part to reaffirm Asian allies of the U.S.'s intention to follow through on its security commitments in the Indo-Pacific region. While at the DMZ, the vice president also met with U.S. service members and their families at Camp Boniface dining facility and thanked them for their service.